What's up, everyone? So, I was working on some videos that I wanted to bring to you guys in the upcoming future when we're talking about reaction videos, and stuff like that. And kind of got me thinking. It was kind of a question, I guess, people have had before, but what's an all-time front person of a band or a group? Uh, I think that we all have like our person. I think David Lee Roth probably comes to mind when you think of like a front man of a band. Steven Tyler. There's people in that kind of vein. But then you could look at people outside of that vein as well, outside of those genres. It doesn't have to just be like rock necessarily. Um, was Johnny Cash the front man of a band? I mean, he was, but was he just kind of the solo act and then he had a band, or was it like he was kind of the band as well? So he'd be the front. Bob Marley and the Wailers, definitely one of my top front guys. Um, what about someone like Snoop Dogg or Biggie Smalls, where they had other guys that they kind of rap with? Like Snoop Dogg had the Dog Pound. Biggie Smalls had the Junior Mafia. Does that make them a front man of something like that? Just kind of one of those things that I don't know. As I was throwing this out there, I figured I would kind of touch base and just see what other people thought when it comes to that. Uh, because I think music is one of those great connectors where we all have some level of okay, I want to I can hear myself. Where we have our idea of music, and we have our idea of what a good front person would be. What are their qualities when it comes to that? What is a genre? Is David Ruffin from the Temptations? Was that frontman esque sort of person? And I guess when you think of a frontman, like somebody who has like a charisma and that ability to captivate and deliver the message and emotion, draw emotion, whatever that is, out of people. I think a great front man to a band is Ice-T from Body Count. I know a lot of people may not know who that is or necessarily care for the music if you know who that is, but it's a hardcore band, and Ice-T used to be a rapper. Well, he still is, but some point in the early 90s, he ventured out and just started like this hardcore rock band. And he he's still going at it. I mean, I give it to Ice-T. He's got to be in his mid late 60s, I would say, at this point. I could be wrong. Don't come after me. Um, but I also met him at one of his shows here in the Valley, and it was like this combination of he did rap, and then it was kind of like a little lounge act in between. He would like crack jokes and stuff like that, but it felt like it was more like a private venue because it was at a nightclub. And then he did a lot of the hardcore stuff, the hardcore metal stuff. So that was my first mosh pit that I was in. I want to say probably my only mosh pit I've been in. But what is somebody who is a front man? I'm trying to think of anybody else. Like I tried to go outside of like just the genre of of rock, but who else do we have? Like I said, I named off a little rap. I was thinking like Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac. Would she be like kind of the face? Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I know that they were, the three of them, but did one of them stand out more than the other? I felt like Simon and Garfunkel. Did one of them stand out more? Did one of them seem like more of the face? Hall and Oates. I would definitely say that Daryl Hall would be. Yeah, it was Daryl Hall would be more like the front person because he was singing. He was out front more. So That's kind of where I'm going with that. What about, did I say Prince and the Revolution? I think that might be another good one. He's definitely charismatic. The one that I think that probably gets overlooked is Michael Jackson with the Jackson Five. And Michael Jackson had careers and stages of his life that any artist would just die for to have, period, at any one of those stages. And he had those throughout the course of his life. The Jackson Five, that would have been a full career for a lot of people at any stage of life. Would they have a few number ones and they were like this massive hit? Then he did his thing, kind of like in his teens, early 20s, and stuff like that. And then, of course, he went like monster after like Off the Wall and I want to say Thriller, and then you could even cut that off and go Bad and Beyond, and then even in his later career, he still had some really quality stuff. So um, there's definitely something to be said about a guy like that. But I would go back because that was the only time. Everything else, he was kind of like a single entity. But as a child, he definitely had that sort of frontman ability. So I'm just looking at people that we can kind of conceptualize to be the front or the face of something. I kind of like Lauryn Hill from the Fugees, the hip hop group. More hip hop, maybe even like Fergie from Black Eyed Peas. I think there's always just like that one person who seems to capture a little bit more attention, and it might be equal billing, or it was meant to be equal billing, but sometimes things just are the way they are, and then things take off. But I think when you, yes, definitely, that's a little bit different. But when you set somebody and say, I'm going to be in the front of the stage, I'm going to have the mic, I'm going to be the person singing the main lyrics, you guys back me up, that's where we see more of a front band, a front person, front man, whatever you want to call it. So that makes sense. But do you see that sometimes in groups like, again, like a Simon and Garfunkel, Fleetwood Mac, Hall and Oates, where one person kind of, might not grab the spotlight, but I think it's more directed to them. They just might be a little bit more charismatic or something like that. Even like with a boy band, New Edition or In Sync, it always feels like one of them got like a little bit more draw of attention. Maybe even the Beatles. I think that was kind of a thing between Paul and John. And did one of them have like frontman credit? You look at a guy like Elvis, of course, he's just a single entity. But again, what who else can we name? Who else can we throw into these categories? Here's an interesting one, because he wasn't a front man, but I think he grabbed a lot more attention than maybe the rest of the band, was Gene Simmons from Kiss. They all had, makeup. It was different faces and stuff. But there was something about Gene and that long tongue, and he's up there with the guitar, things like that. I think there's something about that, yeah, he wasn't necessarily the singing front person. As far as I know, I thought it was it Ace Frehley or Paul Stanley was the lead singer, but it also just seemed like if you knew of Kiss, you just knew you knew Gene Simmons, and he really made the whole Kiss thing like a serious brand and things like that. So definitely he's in that category. If I'm thinking funk, George Clinton, but then George had Bootsy Collins, and so then you got Bootsy Collins there with the glasses, and stuff like that. So there's a few cases that I guess the person up front is always considered like the front of it, but then it makes it an interesting conversation. What happens when it's somebody who is not deemed the front person, but then they're also almost overtaking, the attention from the front person. It happens. I don't know if it's designed that way or things like that, but it can happen. So I'm just trying to think in my mind across different genres how things like that have worked, and then is that kind of like why bands might split up. Um, Wham, George Michael, and I don't even know the other guy's name. I feel bad for that. I did know it, but that's how that's how quick like you can be divided from something like that. Um, Frontman, what was his name? Kamal from Kaja Gugu. They had that song "Too Shy," and they got rid of him. And I don't know what that was behind, but then again, so front man doesn't necessarily always mean it's a good thing either. It can always kind of be taken away. So going back to Van Halen, David Lee Roth, I definitely think he's one of the top frontmen when you think of like a band and things like that. But his stuff kind of wore out with Van Halen too, and they moved on to Sammy Hagar. Now there's always kind of that, did he leave? Did they ask him to leave? Whatever. And then he went on for a short stint as his own entity, doing some cover songs and having, moderate success as a solo artist. But that's always interesting when I see people move on, giving up their front man status for something singular like that. Gwen Stefani, she's another one that comes to mind. Did Gwen Stefani, I mean, she had some solo stuff, but it always seemed like she was still part of the band. But she was definitely the front, right? Because I couldn't tell you anybody else's name. I know the band was No Doubt, and I know of Gwen Stefani, but I don't know of anybody else. Ozzy Osbourne would be another good one. But he had Randy Rhoads, who was the guitarist, who died. So a lot of those are hard ones. Another fantastic one is AC/DC. Yeah, it's Brian Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. And then what was it, Von Scott before that, the late Von Scott, who was the singer. But who do we think of with AC/DC? You think of Angus Young and that guitar, that schoolboy outfit, and he's jamming out across the stage and doing all those things. Yes, you definitely, know the voice, that high pitched, hard driving voice of the lead singer, but the face of AC/DC. I mean, I think even on the album cover, what was it, Highway to Hell, he was the one up front with the horns, and I think he was holding like a devil's tail or something like that. So he had the scowl, he had the presence, and so yeah, you have some bands that are like that where you have a front man as far as somebody who sings, but then you also have like this just super magnetic personality where it's like, I hear you, but I can't help but look at this person. They're all over the place. And in certain genres and music and things like that, that's what you want. You want that person who is just magnetic when it comes to that. It's probably very similar like in sports, if in American football, if somebody were not the quarterback, but they were gaining a whole bunch of attention. Usually the quarterback is meant to be that guy. If you're not the pitcher, but you're on a baseball team, or you're not the point guard on a basketball team, or whatever it is, there's plenty of sports where there's probably one person that you would say, if you are a starting position at this sport for this team, then you should be the face of it. Dallas Cowboys, American football, if you're the quarterback, if you're a starting pitcher for the New York Yankees, if you're starting, I guess, maybe like point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers basketball team, those all have like, you should be the face of, but sometimes there's always somebody that will come along and kind of take that away. So nothing wrong with it, but who else can I think of? Because I'm really just pitching right off the top right now. Janis Joplin, she was kind of a person unto herself. Nina Simone, great singular act. Gladys Knight. I mean, it was Gladys Knight and the Pips. So when you have that, I think it already immediately assigns that you are the front. But I don't know any of the names of the Pips either. Shaka Khan and Rufus, that was the band before she went solo, but it was her name. So it's like you are the headliner. So it definitely pushes you out there. Going back to David Ruffin of the Temptations, I think that's what he was angling for because the band was, or the group was, the Temptations. But I think at some point, wasn't it in the movie where he was so driven by ego, he wanted it to be called David Ruffin and the Temptations. I just remember the actor, in the movie, like, yeah, I like the sound of that. And he's holding the band hostage, but never mind. What about the three tenors? I think everybody knows Pavarotti. Um, I want to say the other guy was Domingo, and then there was somebody else. I used to know him. I used to know all three tenors. But again, my point is there's somebody who generally will end up, whether they try to or not, just end up being kind of the face of things. The Police had Sting. What I forget what band Phil Collins was in before he was playing the drums and singing. So now it's kind of crazy to think this guy was playing the drums. He's in the back. They didn't push the drums to the front, but he was singing, and that's a crazy place to be, like the voice of the band when it comes to that. Oh, what was the name of that band that he was in? Because I think Peter Gabriel joined it afterwards, and I know it. It's on the tip of my tongue. But so we've covered opera. We've kind of covered folk with Crosby, Stills, and Nash, um, and then there was Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Um, what was what group was Diana Ross in? Was it the Supremes, and then it went to Diana Ross and the Supremes, or was it always just the Supremes? I'm trying to think how the order of that went, but she was just blazing, when it came to that. Even like Beyonce and Destiny's Child, I find that to be, I kind of put an asterisk next to that one, and maybe there are for some of these other bands as well, or these other groups, but if I'm not mistaken, Destiny's Child was put together by Beyonce's parents. Like I thought they were the managers of the band. And so it was kind of already built for her to be the front of it. And then they started switching pieces around. I don't know for what reasons, but I felt like that's a little bit different. If something's built for you to be the front of it. But I mean, nevertheless, she was still out front there. And she was the person, whether we knew it or not, she still had a charisma and a presence and I think just the name, it was more exotic. It was, and it just got attention. So definitely. One that I think was always kind of even across was TLC. But I still kind of feel like Lisa Left Eye, who passed away, may have gotten a little bit more of attention. But then again, that's kind of like a Beatles thing. Who was your favorite? So maybe she didn't, but maybe I just kind of think that. But I always thought that she seemed to get a little bit more attention because she was a little bit more rough. The other two, like they sang, but then she could sing, but then she would come in and she was also the one who would rap on it as well. So it garnered a little different sort of attention. What about what group was Justin Timberlake in? Was that In Sync? I can't remember which boy band he was in. Even when you go to like New Edition, um, was it Bobby Brown? Was he the one that you think of mainly, or was there one person? But I mean, usually when there's something like that, there's somebody who stands out. And whether they try to or not, I don't necessarily know, but I still think a lot of times there are just faces of a group. No matter how much you try to say it's about the group. And then again, that's a lot of times, I think in the New Edition case, Bobby Brown went solo. and had a massive career. He's another person who, as part of a group and and just being a solo act, had a massive two careers that anybody would be happy just to have one of. So sometimes I think there says something about that when somebody splits off like that, they might realize already, I might be bigger than this, and not in a bad way, but just if I can do this, make hits, and I'm already kind of famous or whatever, and do they do it just to cut the other person out? I'm sure a lot of times it's creative differences and things like that, but if you can do that and make more of the money or control more of the say of the direction of the creative output, well, generally the one who leaves probably was the face of it. So George Michael, as far as I know, he left Wham. Sting left the Police. I still can't think of who Phil Collins left. What was the band? Um, but when it comes to stuff like that, if the person leaves, does that mean that they were bigger already? It's driving me crazy, the Phil Collins thing. What was the name of the band of Phil Collins? Um, I'm gonna look it up because I'll keep thinking of it. And Genesis. Genesis. That was it. Um, yeah. And I don't know if well, I mean, Prince got rid of the Revolution, didn't he? Because after the first album, it wasn't even Prince and the Revolution; it was just Prince. Then it was just a symbol. So again, there's a point where I think people are separating themselves because they realize like there's more going on here. I'm a little, I'm a little bigger than this. And again, doesn't mean that it's in a bad way. Hi, Donna. Hello from Tennessee. Ooh, what part of Tennessee? And do you have somebody when it comes to like a good front person of a group um, that you favor? Even just your favorite kind of music or anything else like that. That's kind of just all I'm talking about. Just kind of chit chatting here while my dinner cooks. Ooh, thank you. Near Nashville. Okay, I've been to Nashville. I think once I went to visit a friend who was in the army. I love all genres too. I will say I'm not a huge fan of 90s R&B. I know it's the craziest because everybody seems to love 90s R&B, but it never clicked with me. But do you have one from one of the genres? Do you have like a favorite front person of a group, a band, whatever? I've been trying to just go through all of these different notions of people who I thought might be the face of a band, even if they're not the person in front. So um, the example that I used, hey, you love Ren? Okay. Chris Stapleton. Okay. Um, Ren, I've done a couple of video reviews here on the channel for Ren, and I'm new. I don't even know if I can call myself a renegade right now, but I really like the stuff that he's putting out. And I saw he just dropped something yesterday, or maybe it was today, and I haven't got to see it yet. Billy Strings. What is are those country? Is that country western? Because I'm like an old country person. I'm definitely a renegade. Thank you so much. Um, I just did a review on Ren. I think the last one was the Cujo beatdown, but the other ones I haven't heard of. Chris Stapleton, I know the name, but I don't know Bluegrass. Okay, yeah. Um, the closest that maybe I guess is it Bluegrass. What did your thought on Oliver Anthony? I did the Richmond, north of Richmond review, and that really just took off for me. Got a lot of feedback, a lot of positive thoughts, and a lot of people showing me some stuff from other areas of the world, which is actually where Ren suggestion came from, because I hadn't heard of him before that. Oh, I'll definitely check it out then. Thank you so much. And I'm always for like bluegrass and things like that. I feel like there's just, I don't know, there's something different about bluegrass and that sort of genre. And I'm kind of old school when it comes to country, Johnny Cash, Conway Twitty, stuff like that. Billy Strings, just the name Billy Strings. That sounds like he's incredible on that. Really? No way. No way. That you got to see Johnny Cash in concert. That's super cool. Where was that at? Coulter Wall, North Carolina. I'm gonna have to write some of these down because I don't want to lose them once the chat's over. Back in the 90s. Man. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. As story goes, when I was a baby and we'd be driving in the car, I enjoyed listening to Johnny Cash. So this is like something in me, like way before I even thought about it. Um, so are all of those that's bluegrass, kind of country in that vein? Is that your favorite genre, or do you have a favorite genre? I will have to look on those. That's super cool. That you got to go see Johnny Cash. And thank you for the thumbs up. Definitely appreciate it. No, no worries. No worries. I'm here. It's easy for me. I'm just rapid firing out all these questions, and you're keeping up when it comes to that. Country, hip hop, blues, southern rock. Ren is his own genre. I will definitely say that. Um, yeah, I can go with those, especially blues. Oh, what are their names? I just did some stuff on them. Let me see if you've heard of them. Come on, give it to me, give it to me. The guys out of Australia, the band, the Teskey Brothers. I've got a reaction coming from on the Teskey Brothers. Very bluesy. Okay, I'm good with bluesy stuff. Yeah, you that is definitely just naming those four are definitely very separated from each other. That's cool. Any Southern rock bands to recommend? Yeah. Southern rock for me is I'm probably kind of lost on. I don't mind it. I'm guessing that kind of falls into like a Leonard Skinner sort of sound. Yeah, yeah. I just did a review on Rain. I think that was the name of the song, Rain. But yeah, they've got some brilliant stuff. And I loved hearing that they were from Australia. That the music, the influence carries around the world, especially for its sounding like just a different era of music for us. It had like that Otis Redding sort of sound and feel. Southern rock, Leonard Skinner, yes. I know Kid Rock kind of adopted a little of that after some time. Um, but I don't know too many Southern rock. I don't know if that genre still holds true or if that's just kind of a throwback to bands of that era. But I'm always willing to learn. That's why I'll hop on here every once in a while and just do some chit chatting and see what I think. See what I can learn from people. Mm, mm, mm. Okay, what else do we have? Who else can we put out front or discuss as like the face of something? I forgot. Justin Timberlake. I forgot what group he was in, but there was like five of them. But I felt like still the eyes went to him, um, and you could probably make that case with a lot of things. I said Bobby Brown, New Edition, In Sync. Yes, and I think it was just kind of outside of my realm of like, not that I thought they were terrible, terrible, but if I heard them on the radio, fine, but I didn't go out of my way. So um, yeah, I feel like he was kind of like the guy. And go figure, after they kind of not being a band. Yeah, yeah, remember Bobby Brown? And I think he was the face of New Edition, even though there was four or five, people in the band, but there's always somebody who has like that attention to them. Bobby Brown kind of had that bad boy image. And Justin Timberlake and Bobby Brown are both proof positive that you can leave, have a solo career, and be a monster, and have like two whole careers, one as a group member and one as a solo. Johnny Gill, BBD, Ralph Tresvant, and it's crazy because they all had great careers. He left, I think he left first, and then they kind of disband, then they'd get back together, and there was more of them. When there like six or seven of them when they would have like the reunion because they added Johnny Gill afterwards. There was something about that when they would have like those reunion tours. There's another one in hip hop was Ice Cube with NWA. Ice Cube, I think, was definitely like the draw. And again, if we're going off of this formula that you can leave and have this amazing career without, was that Ice Cube was the first to leave, and um, he's still. I mean, unfortunately for Easy E, he passed, but Dr. Dre's had I don't know if somebody's had a more impactful thumbprint on hip hop than Dr. Dre. The amount of artists he's worked with, the amount of hits that he's put out, things like that. But Ice Cube really set the standard. Eric B and Rakim, yes, yes. Um, yeah, Dre just does some fantastic things. Um, I said Lauren Hill with the Fugees. I think she was the face of it. I think Fergie was like the face of the Black Eyed Peas, even though they were like a group, but there's still that one person that still stood out. Um, that was where I was going with that. But yeah, Eric B and Rakim, I can go with them all day. And that was kind of one of those things. I think Rakim was built to be the front man. Check out. Ooh, that sounds good. Anything with, yeah, still Dre is the whole album, the whole Chronic album is just it's pretty masterful. Not only for the time, but then that style to bring like G Funk in. He did a great service for even sampling. I know like people don't like to hear about sampling, especially with rap, and saying that they stole things, but they're taking these things and they're reinventing them in a very creative way. And I think that art is just art when it comes to that. But I'm definitely up for hearing that. Casey Chambers, Australian country. Lose yourself. That I like that, and I like hearing genres kind of bleeding into each other. I don't know what's the country song. I don't know. Is it Shabuzi or something where they took the hook from Tipsy? Ah, I love banjo. What's the new song, the new country song, where it's one, here comes the two to the three, and then yeah, okay, Shabuzi. That was well, I forget the kid's name, but what was that like? Yeah, from Tipsy. Everybody in the club getting tipsy. um, but they took a little piece of that and put it in, and for fans of music, like you and I, who like different genres, that's a cool notion. I don't think that it has to be like these hard lines. There are going to be artists that will have those hard lines, who won't like work with other artists if it's not really of their genre and stuff like that. I think where did I read? I think it was Jason Aldean didn't want to work with Beyonce. Was that who it was? Which, it is what it is. I mean, even when you go back to um, Walk This Way with Steven Tyler and Run DMC, like neither one of those guys wanted to Run DMC and didn't want to do that with them. Trailer Trap. Okay. Who's Blanco? I mean, yeah, you're giving me a full education here. Blanco Brown, great collab. It was, yeah, it really was, and it not only saved Aerosmith, and they went on in the '90s to have some really good stuff, but I think it saved hip hop in a great way because it wasn't the household name that people think that it is now. It was still very street cornerish. It didn't have like a lot of wheels to it, even though it was getting some love on MTV and stuff like that. But goes to show like sometimes it's the things that we don't think will work end up working. But yeah, great collab for sure. And again, speaking of front people, it put Steven Tyler in a very popular song, very popular video, and then there he is with Running DMC doing front flips and doing that kind of dance with them and stuff like that. That see, we must be kindred spirits because that's what I said that summer, and I said I want those Adidas going back to school. I didn't get them, but I just remember and they were just the close up on those shell-toed Adidas. Yes, yes. Yeah, no doubt at all. I didn't want the hat. I didn't want the glasses. I didn't want the leather jackets or whatever they were wearing. I wanted those clean, crispy shoes, the crispy white shoes. Yeah, and to this day, even though I don't have them, I use and I tell my daughter too. It's, if you're gonna get white shoes, you got to keep them. You got to keep them clean. So, don't you miss the DJ? Don't you miss the DJ? I always I argue to the death because when people talk about, oh, it's just making noise and you're just anybody could do that. It's like if you break down the science of what um oh, why am I'm just my brain is skipping today. But Cool Herc and guys like that, the forefathers, the pioneers, when you look at what they were actually doing in the science to take two records and play here and that one's playing, and then you come back over here and then you get back over there. It wasn't just the scratching. This is where we got breakdancing from. That they were dancing in the break of the song that doom, 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 doom. It was just like those few seconds, and to go back and forth and do that is it's not even juggling, it's something beyond that. You're definitely going back and forth, like you would juggling something, but that timing has to be really precise. So I liken DJing at a high level to when we first heard Eddie Van Halen play Eruption, which was mind blowing to me. Yeah, you know, it was cool when Roger did it. I want to be your man and stuff like that because it wasn't everything, and it wasn't. everywhere. Now you're right, auto tune is just wildly out of control because you can hear it's not as heavy as like T-Pain used to do or Little Wayne and stuff like that. But our ear, like you, when you know real singing, and then you hear just when somebody tries to just put that finite amount. Hip hop started with graffiti, breakdancing, wall dancing, DJing, and MCing. Those are the elements of hip hop. You can throw in like fashion as well, but yeah, it's like its own science. It's got its force. So yeah, you're absolutely right. The culture of hip hop, and that's where people get it mixed. Is that hip hop is the culture, and the music of that culture is rap, but hip hop has more elements to it. So you're spot on. That is old school. You are old school with stuff like that. There was a great documentary called I think it's Rubble Kings or Rumble Kings, but it was about New York City in the late 70s before it started building up, and just how dark of a city it was, all the crime and all the things going on, and it showed like the origins of hip hop. Um, T-Pain did a good cover of Black Sabbath. War Pigs, nice. Uh, Black Sabbath cover I'm going to do a video on is Charles Bradley, Changes. It's so soulful. But I will definitely. I like War Pigs, and I'm not overly knowledgeable about Black Sabbath, but there are some songs and things like that that I'm like, okay, yeah, I like it. It's never been a thing for me not to like something just because it's a genre that the artists don't look like me or so, or, stuff like that. I've always just found that to be kind of crazy, and we limit ourselves if we don't take the time to really step outside of what society says, not just what but if society says it, nope, we can break down those barriers, those walls, and that's why we have these conversations now, and we can talk about something like Shabuzi, because you're taking things. I can remember when those two things would have never stood, as far as trying to mix them. And I'm glad that it does now, that we see that influence and people are outgrowing stereotypes and being pigeonholed and things like that. And then there's people who are just going to be purists. If you know, absolutely. That cardboard had to go with you because there was no back spinning that you could do on sidewalk that was going to be forgiving. Have you heard the Charles Bradley Changes cover? He's got a super soulful voice. Unfortunately, he passed maybe right around the pandemic. But yeah, he's really good. Definitely worth checking out. And he was part of the Daptone label, and I think the Daptone label is still around. Sharon Bradley, she was another one, and they're just a throwback to like that old kind of Motown sounding sort of stuff. Absolutely, no, thank you. This is a wonderful exchange. I'm so happy you're here. And I love the crossing of stuff like that. There's another guy, Amerigo Gazaway, and he's been blending. His whole projects. He took Nina Simone and Lauryn Hill, and not only is he doing it like a DJ, he's gotten permission to go into the recording sessions of these former artists, and he's mixing them like they actually both did the collaboration together. He did one, yes, Motown. He did one. Speaking of Marvin Gaye and Mos Def, and that is one of my favorite albums. Period. The fact that he was able to take those things and stitch them together is it's an amazing marriage of two different genres of music, two different eras as well. I mean, the amount of time between them. When Marvin Gaye died, what was it, 1984? I mean, Mos Def couldn't have been but a child. Yes, And I have a reaction on my channel. I did one from that album, and it's called "B is for Beef," and it's just this. I always tell people, like, strip away the titles that you think that you will or won't like when it comes to hip hop, country, Ren, any of those things, because as you know, like with Ren and some of these other artists, they write impactful things. And if we can just look at those words and take that and then be able to really have um, an understanding of what other people go through, I think music is a great teaching tool. And it's one of those things that yeah, I'm always in favor of. No, thank you. I'm not tech savvy, so I don't know if I can even. I'm gonna try to see if I can pull that up and leave it in the chat. Let me see if that's something that a person like me can do, and see if I'm able to get that done. So I'm in mine reactions. There it is. So I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to share it. It'll be my first. Yes, I liked Teddy Swims. Uh, yeah, I really like his new stuff. Or it's new to me, but that I lose control, and then there's a couple other ones that I've heard. I haven't gotten like into more than just what I've heard on the radio. Shame on me, but yeah, I really like his stuff, and that was kind of what the Teskey brothers reminded me of. Was it had that really soulful sort of feel, but um, no, I'm all in. I'm all ears for that. A long time band nerd. What'd you play? Were you like in band in school and stuff like that? Okay, cool. So that link that I put in there is for the reaction for Amerigo Gazaway, the Yasin Bey or Marvin Gaye and Most Def. Ooh, nice, nice. Yeah, absolutely. Are you still singing, doing music? What You're keeping amazing time. I will say you are keeping up because again, I get to just like let this run. This thing right here just keeps talking. And I'm excited. I'm excited that we get to have this interaction. Nice. I'm all for that. There's things that we don't always get to keep doing, like as far as like being in band and things like that. But nice. Do you have stuff on your channel? Do you have like videos, or do you have it even on other social media platforms that I can check it out? Because I'm a fan of like everybody just doing things that make them happy and being able to put it out. Or are you just singing around the house in the shower and stuff like that? Because there's that too. And if that can make us happy enough in our private lives to go out and be better people in the public, I'm all for that. Please do, because I like to encourage people, because if I can do this, get up here and just chit chat away, then I really love to help people feel like that they have that same place, that same ability. I'm painfully shy, and it's something that over time I've gotten a little better with, a little bit more comfortable with. But um, I want to check out your channel. I don't know if I can do that right now. Do you have stuff on your channel? because I would definitely check it out. We can swap subscriptions. I'm all for that. I'm all for trading the sub when it comes to that. Or I'm even open on other platforms as well. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that, and it's all under the same name, Vincent Alfonso Jamal. I find that to be the easiest. I'm not going to confuse you and say find me on TikTok under Cat Daddy or something like that. So don't mind me. I'm just going on. Uh, I don't have that music background. My dad, he played the piano like a concert pianist. And I say that without even hesitation. Okay. Well, make sure we like there's some connection so we can at least keep tabs, and we'll have more conversations or whatever. But yeah, if you have subscribers, awesome. Uh, yeah, my dad could play piano and was in the choir. My sisters played the guitar. One played the flute. My mom could play the piano, and I don't know what Discord is, so I probably don't have it. Um, yeah, I don't know what Discord is. So again, I'm getting more education here, which I'm all for. Um, but I stayed away from music because everybody was so good. My brother went to college and was in operas, and so I grew up in going to symphonies, things like that. There we go. There's a reason why people cross paths, and of all the places that you could have been in the world, because it's this meta universe, this is where we're at. We found each other to chit chat. Oh yes, yeah. So I had to, and it's kind of against my will, but for the nativity scene for the Christmas pageant, I had to be one of the wise men, and we all had to like get up and like sing our part. And I mean, I did it, but it was kind of against my will at the time. I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. That's never an easy time, and so I hope this has given you a little bit of I don't know, something to enjoy, and help kind of blend the reflection of your father's legacy and things like that. But yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That's never an easy time. My dad, I think was 10 years ago. Yeah, my dad passed 10 years ago in like April. So I get that. Um, it's not easy, but we persevere because this is who our fathers built us to be, and that's kind of what I always tell people, when I come across good people or that I don't really know, but I always just remind them that the person you are, and I'm enjoying this conversation. It's a testament to who our parents have brought us up to be. So immense respect on that aspect when it comes to that, because it sounds like your parents brought up a very well-rounded and diverse young lady. So I appreciate you. Um, you're very welcome. Mm, that's tough when when your kids, when you're a kid still. That's very tough. And you're very welcome. My dad passed. Yeah, um, I was fortunate, that all the kids were well into adulthood when he passed, and my mom is still alive, and so we're all well into adulthood. I did have. Thank you. I've had people pass. I did have a brother who did pass at 30, but you know that's the thing. I think the best thing you can do with life is to keep living it at a high level and continue to get better, because that's what the people, who we survive would want for us. We wouldn't, I don't think they would want us to um, just, go into a dark space over it. They want us to be happy and they want us to do better. So I always find that to be the best respect that we can pay people, is just by living better and trying to do the best that we can. Um, that had to be tough, though. That definitely had to be tough at 16. 16 is just a tough age, period. When you're trying to find yourself socially, when your body's going through changes, and you know, I used to always tell my oldest, like, your brain's not even fully developed yet, so I have to give you some leeway when it comes to, some of these things that you're doing. Yeah. And at that age, I'm guessing she was much younger. And so that is, when we think of passing, by the time my father was getting ready to pass, he had lived a very full life. And at some point, I think he was even ready to go, or at least was accepting of it. And that gives us time. That gives us time to kind of brace ourselves or prepare. I do remember with my brother, I had a friend, when I was 19, they had passed, and that's a very unexpected. And when you equate death in a certain age, uh, the lower the number, the more tragic it is. Unfortunately, I think all loss of life definitely can hit hard, but um, I just know that legacy years are important, and the way that we can take what people have taught us, that really solidifies who they were in our life. So um, that's it's tough. It's definitely tough, and I could see that definitely being something that hit hard, for your father and you and any siblings as well. uh, do you have anything for the service? Any music that you'll play? I can't even think of music that we played. I think we sang some things. I know I came home and I wrote some kind of scripture, gospel sort of things that I never really did record, but that was in my mind. Oh, go do your thing. Go do your thing. You know where to find me, and I'm going to make sure I know where to find you. So go take care of your stuff. 2%. I thank you so much. Music to again, kindred spirits. That's what my dad did. My brother did as well. Miss Donna, you have a great night. I'm going to hop off here as well, but I love this talk, and I can't thank you enough for hanging out with me. Yes, yes, absolutely. So it's not a shameless plug, but if you would subscribe, that way we're in touch. And if I go live again, we can have these conversations, or we can find each other on some other platform. But you have a fantastic night. And again, thank you so much for sharing everything going on in your life. And that's it's an amazing way. I consider you a friend, because that's how we meet people and have this fantastic interaction. Oh, thank you so much. You've been subbed. Okay, my bad. I'll stop with the sales tactics. But carrying your little one, don't run your battery out, and all the best on the service tomorrow and everything. And you got a friend, so I'll be thinking of you. All right. You guys have a fantastic night, and all right. As I sign off, guys, have a fantastic night. I'll talk to you later, Donna. Peace, love, unity, solidarity.